Okay. So if we can move on now to the Hope and Anchor Public House, 74 Crowndale Road.
I'd firstly state that Camden Town Centre, whilst offering vibrant nightlife, does have an existing resident population. So I don't consider that the proposed use is out of character, which I think is one of the comments that has been made. However, I do understand the concerns of local businesses to ensure that new development doesn't impact on their future business. Part of our role as well is to ensure that that new residential accommodation provides future occupiers with a high standard of living. So, like them, we want to ensure that residents in the new properties are not disturbed by noise or vibration. That the amenity of future occupiers would not be harmed, and that the long-term future of the neighbouring businesses would be secured. So on that basis, we're recommending approval.
Thank you for that, Beth. Now we've now got a deputation and a response, and the deputation is from Larry Seymour and Richard Vivian. Where are you here? Oh, there you are. Okay, thank you. As you've heard the previous ones, you've got 5 minutes, and I'll kind of give you a sign when you've got a minute left.
Good evening. Larry Seymour here representing KOKO, and thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. So we acquired KOKO in 2004, spent a couple of £1 million refurbishing and bringing it up to standard. We hold about 250 events a year, average 5 a week. We've had about 3 million people through the doors, and we regard it as a very important amenity for the area. Personally, I've had about 35 years' experience running big nightclubs, bars, restaurants. I've had the Empire in Leicester Square, the Forum in Kentish Town, the Astoria before it was knocked down. Got a lot of experience of managing sound and sound leakage over those years, as you might imagine.
Thank you, Larry. My name is Richard Vivian. I'm an acoustic consultant. I've got over 25 years of working very specifically in the music sector with licensed premises and dealing with noise. The key issue here, members, is that there is not enough information for you to make a decision. The officer did verbally refer to an environmental health representation, but we haven't seen that. That's not before you today. It's not in any written form, and in my dealings with officers since the beginning of July, they haven't been able to forward me a copy of that. So we are not aware of the environmental health views on this, other than my verbal discussions with them. That has raised the issue that structurally connected buildings adjacent to loud noise sources, such as a nightclub, but equally maybe a factory or a goods depot, are pretty much unresolvable in terms of residential amenity. We need to structurally disconnect the two buildings for this property to be habitable. And by structural disconnection, we mean a significant structural disconnection. So 1.5 metre gap, something like that. An alleyway between the two, and then the buildings are acoustically separate. Anything less is not going to achieve an internal level that would be acceptable for residential amenity. Thank you. We've seen the report from Han Tucker, and we've benefited today before this meeting of some discussion with them. Again, very last minute. We've been discussing conditions outside, but we're really a very long way off being able to come to an agreement in terms of that. Some things have been done, but there is still a lot more. The drawings in front of you aren't accurate and don't actually depict the development as we've now discussed. There have been windows removed from the development to assist us, and we're grateful for that. There's been an offer to remove the roof terrace, and remember that would be an external garden space where people would want to enjoy the outside amenity of their property. There's been an offer to remove that. Again, that's not on your drawings. So without that information in front of you, it's very difficult to understand how this development is going to be made, and it's certainly impossible to calculate the noise levels that would be experienced by residents inside the property. I will just conclude and say that I have a number of clients with late-night licensed premises that are suffering from very, very misguided planning decisions all over the UK. And this has resulted, perhaps by way of example, in Norwich, a 6-year case where
ask you to finish now.
Thank you very much. If I can just finish on that point, where my client's business is severely jeopardised, and where the...
We're well over the 5 minutes now.
Okay, and a residential property tribunal has condemned the property adjacent as uninhabitable because this wasn't achieved.
Members can ask questions if they
I'll be very happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Turning to noise, perhaps it's helpful to sort of step back from it. There's a lot of discussion around whether or not there's another environmental health report. We don't have separate environmental health reports. The reports that you have in front of you are the reports of officers to you with our recommendations. When we require specialist advice from other departments, whether that be environmental health or transport or design, those comments are incorporated into the officer's report. So the comments that you see on the report regarding noise and amenity incorporate the views of the environmental health officer. There is no other statement or report that you have not seen.
Can I just ask you, because I'm sorry, I got very confused there. So were you saying that there is going to be separation between on the boundary wall now?
Yeah, but not in the sense that I think the request from KOKO was that the whole building is moved 1.5 metres away from their property, and that's the only way that you could have residential in it that they think wouldn't conflict with their own business. You know, this is quite a nice building and one that we generally would want to keep. So I'm not sure that we would want to see the building altered in that way to create an alleyway which leads to nothing and potential security issue. What the proposal is to build another wall rather than build onto the party wall, rather than at the moment it just abuts it, so it's creating another wall and isolating the building. I'm not suggesting I'm a technical expert on this, but our environmental health officers have reviewed it and are happy with that.
So effectively,
what about the other windows when they're opened, on a busy street where people are queuing outside to go into KOKO?
You did ask that question, and I'm sorry
That's all right.
I missed that one.
I just noticed something else.
I'm not aware that the proposal includes any mechanical ventilation. I don't think that's the intention. That people should be able to open their windows.
Do you think it's likely to lead to any complaints if people open their windows on a summer evening and a busy nightclub next door, music is quite loud and lots of people queuing outside as they do, right below where they are sleeping? Do you think that's likely to lead to complaints in an officer's view?
Francis can come in on this, I think.
One thing I was just going to say was that one of the considerations that's been taken on board here is that the fact that there's residential immediately opposite, so in close proximity to the nightclub. So that's one of the...
Across the road?
Yes. So that situation already exists.
But that's presumably higher distance away, across the road.
There's residential in... there's residential in Crowndale Road over here, there's residential here, and many of the properties on Camden High Street have got residential above them. That's one of the points that I was trying to make in the presentation, is that although this is a town centre and it obviously does have late night uses, it does have quite a strong resident population as well. And I appreciate there may be, you might open your windows and hear noise outside it, but if you're living along Crowndale Road, if you open your windows, you're going to hear the traffic. Living in a town centre is a noisier location.
I accept the point. I do think these people are greater distances away than these people would be, and I believe, though they may correct me, people queue by the pubs. They'll be queuing underneath people's bedrooms, potentially. If you're saying to me that if these people complain, the council, won't take up the matter because the answer will be, well, you live in a busy area, then fair enough. But that's not my experience. And my second point.
It's a bit unfortunate because we can't really. The purpose of the meeting is not to negotiate an agreement between the three sides, so it's quite difficult. But I just wanted to ask the objectors, really. Presumably, I'm not clear whether your objection is to any residential here, full stop, because you don't think any possible residential development could meet your needs, because I'm not sure we could come to that conclusion. Or what particular information is still outstanding in your personal view, or what particular physical changes would be needed to the development to make it acceptable, or have you been satisfied by what you've heard already?
Thank you, Councillor. No objection to residents. They are, after all, my client's customers, so residents in the area is fine. The issue here is fundamentally that we don't have enough information. We don't have that environmental health report. We're talking about changes to the plans in front of you. We're talking about structural disconnections. We're talking about conditions that seem to be being made up on the fly. I think the officer's referred to her condition 8, which says which is the noise condition, which says prior to commencement of the development, detailed plans that are submitted in accordance with the Tucker Associates letter of the 23rd of June. Now, that letter was written before the site was surveyed. It consists of one paragraph. And speaking to my colleague, the acoustic consultant on the other side, he says, well, actually, that doesn't apply now. So everything's very much in flux, and I think we really need to go away and start again on this one.
I must say, I'd like to ask KOKO a question. Did you have your own noise assessment done? Because we did have this noise assessment done. So I would have expected you to have had your own, you to have written your own report.
We've been trying to negotiate with Environmental Health since the 11th of July. That was my first contact with them, Councillor, for their comments. After all, it would be extremely unusual not to have published comments from your own noise officers, your own noise experts on this to guide you in this matter. Unfortunately, nothing has been forthcoming from the Environmental Protection Department. We're hearing this in Helen Masterson's absence, and I have a very good working relationship with Mrs. Masterson. But the deputised officer is Tamin Lamba, and my repeated requests to him, including rather embarrassingly 3 repeated emails, please can I see a copy of your comments so that we can either understand what the council's view is on this, have resulted in no response. We just don't have anything in writing, so we don't know where the officers are on this.
The officers have said, as always, they are incorporated into the reports, and that's how we receive them. We don't get separate reports. So it seems like there isn't anything else that can be offered.
I think that's correct what you're saying, but that these comments have been incorporated here as the officer suggested. But I still think it is generally good form if someone's asking for a report and it's public information that they're shown. So you've received no response at all to those 3 emails, but I think that maybe should be followed up.
But I don't feel that the noise would be an issue. And regarding the environmental health report, obviously we will follow up the issue around information not being provided when requested. But Environmental Health don't produce their own noise reports. We send noise reports to them, and what they do is verify them, check that they're happy with the methodology that's been used and that the conclusions drawn are reasonable. So there isn't a whole new report with new data in it available.
Don't doubt that, I believe you. But someone who asked 3 times for some information should be transmitted that message and given the actual information, not ignored.
In terms of the British standard, I would have to admit I'm not wholly familiar with it. It's not a piece of planning legislation. Obviously, it's something Environmental Health deal with. But what they're looking for is for noise and vibration to be inaudible within the habitable rooms. They should be able to carry out life as normal without feeling any of the effects of living next door to KOKO.
Can I see those in favour of this application?
1, 2, 3.
And abstentions? One abstention. Okay, so that is now granted, and as I know that it is me as ward councillor that will be getting the grief, I hope it all works.